Hello, friends and neighbors, and welcome back to the poem of the day for today, Friday, August 29th, 2025. And today we're going to continue our reading of Samuel Taylor Coleridge's The Rime of the Ancient Mariner. We'll be picking up on part 5. And this is another video that I'm recording the night before for the morning of, and it's actually gotten a little bit late here, so without further ado, I will probably jump into reading, and I'll keep my comments at the end a bit on the shorter end. So, part 5, excuse me, begins thus. O sleep, it is a gentle thing, beloved from pole to pole. To Mary Queen the praise be given. She sent the gentle sleep from heaven that slid into my soul. The silly buckets on the deck that had so long remained, I dreamt that they were filled with dew, and when I awoke, it rained. My lips were wet, my throat was cold, my garments all were dank. Sure, I had drunk it in my dreams, and still my body drank. I moved. I could not feel my limbs. I was so light. Almost I thought that I had died in sleep and was a blessed ghost. And soon I heard a roaring wind. It did not come anear, but with its sound it shook the sails that were so thin and sere. The upper air burst into life, and 100 fire flags sheen. To and fro they hurried about, and to and fro and in and out the wan stars danced between. And the coming wind did roar more loud, and the sails did sigh like sedge, and the rain poured down from one black cloud. The moon was at its edge. The thick black cloud was cleft, and still the moon was at its side. Like water shot from some high crag, the lightning fell with never a jag, a river steep and wide. The loud wind never reached the ship, yet now the ship moved on. Beneath the lightning and the moon, the dead men gave a groan. They groaned, they stirred, they all uprose, nor spake nor moved their eyes. It had been strange, even in a dream, to have seen the dead men rise. The helmsman steered, the ship moved on, yet never a breeze blew up. The mariners all 'gan work the ropes where they were wont to do. They raised their limbs like lifeless tools. We were a ghastly crew. The body of my brother's son stood by me, knee to knee. The body and I pulled at one rope, but he said naught to me. I fear thee, ancient mariner. Be calm, thou wedding guest. 'Twas not those souls that fled in pain which to their corpses came again, but a troop of spirits blessed. For when it dawned, they dropped their arms and clustered around the mast. Sweet sounds rose slowly through their mouths and from their bodies passed. Around, around flew each sweet sound, then darted to the sun. Slowly the sounds came back again, now mixed, now one by one. Sometimes a dropping from the sky, I heard the skylark sing. Sometimes all the little birds that are, how they seem to fill the sea and air with their sweet jargoning. And now 'twas all like instruments, now like a lonely flute, and now it is an angel's song that makes the heavens be mute. It ceased, yet still the sails made on a pleasant noise till noon, the noise like of a hidden brook in the leafy month of June, that to the sleeping woods all night singeth a quiet time. Till noon we quietly sailed on, yet never a breeze did breathe. Slowly and smoothly went the ship, moved onward from beneath. Under the keel, 9 fathom deep, from the land of mist and snow, the Spirit slid, and it was he that made the ship to go. The sails at noon left off their tune, and the ship stood still also. The sun right up above the mast had fixed her to the ocean, but in a minute she 'gan stir, with a short, uneasy motion, backwards and forwards, half her length, with a short, uneasy motion. Then, like a pawing horse let go, she made a sudden bound. It flung the blood into my head, and I fell down in a swoon. How long in that same fit I lay, I have not to declare. But ere my living life returned, I heard, and in my soul discerned, two voices in the air. Is it he, quoth one? Is this the man? By him who died on cross, with his cruel bow he laid full low the harmless albatross. The spirit who bideth by him in the land of mist and snow. He loved the bird that loved the man who shot him with his bow. And the other was a softer voice, as soft as honeydew. Quoth he, the man hath penance done, and penance more will do. Okay, so part 5 here. Excuse me, I'm going to have a little tea. Part 5 here, I think it's not only longer in terms of the length of lines, but I think it slows down the pacing and some of the intense, horrific imagery of the last 2 parts that we've had, at least for a majority of it. The mariner, as he's speaking here, talks of dreams, and speaking as though Mary, the Mother of God, is interceding on his behalf to bring down buckets of water and buckets of torrential rain to, nourish him, to give him water. Because as we learned earlier, they were so parched and dehydrated that he was biting into his own skin, so that his lips were wet enough to speak. And within the descriptions through these stanzas, the mariner seems to be somewhat unsure which parts are actually happening in dreams and which parts happened in real life. And I think a part of that is his isolation, the doldrums that he's experiencing, but also the supernatural elements that he's experienced in the previous parts that are causing him to have sort of a metaphysical instability. Things that seem like they would be delusions and seem like they would be dreams by a rational standpoint have the possibility of being real and actually occurring to them, not just actually occurring to him, not just in dream states or as nightmarish visions. So he seems somewhat wavering and unsure about what he believes he's actually experiencing and what he's not. And right around line 330, as a loud wind comes in and moves the ship, then the souls of the dead men rise. At least that's how he describes it initially, that they rise and they kind of take to the masts and take to the business of being on board a ship. I don't know what you call that. And that's where the wedding guest intercedes again, that they're afraid of the mariner because there's a suggestion, at least within his story, that maybe he's one of these kind of demonic resurrected souls. And he insists really quickly afterward, like, oh no, they weren't demons. They actually weren't really the men themselves. They were just angelic spirits sent down by some sort of guardian, is what he says back. But then very shortly after, they arise and they dart around and go towards the sun. And later that day, then, there's a spirit from the South Pole, a single one that's lonesome, and it carries the ship along, the mariner again seeming to think that this is like the angelic spirits that came to help him with the ship business just 30 lines earlier. But then we learn from the two voices, the fellow demons that are with him, who are speaking while he's in this weird kind of sleep-waking state. And they're saying, oh, is this the guy? Is this the one that the spirit's been looking for? The one who with his cruel bow laid full low the harmless albatross. So we learn that this main polar spirit that's seeking vengeance loved that bird a lot. And so we end this part with the promise that though the mariner has been through enough torment and torture already to suffice as a penance, that there's still other bad things that are in store for him. He's still going to have to pay back for what he did in killing this bird. And that's where we end with part 5, is listening to those two voices speaking while the mariner's laying there in this state of sort of being able to hear them, but also not. It doesn't seem as though he sees those two spirits. So we have 2 portions left, about 250 lines remaining of the poem, and even though, like I said, I think there's a lot less horrific imagery in this section or terrifying imagery in this section than the last 2, we are starting to, I think, see what I might call the plot developing, in the sense that the main spirit, the main kind of antagonist whom he wronged, has appeared here, and we're getting a sense that all the things that the mariner's been through, there's still more to come, which I think then makes us wonder again, why did he burst into this wedding scene at the beginning, and why is he telling this tale? What could possibly happen in the next 2 parts worse than what we've read that would also lead him to the spot that he's in the present tense of the story? And we'll get the answer to that over the next 2 days as we read part 6 and part 7. So again, thank you for joining me, and have a wonderful Friday, and I wish you peace.